For centuries, cities have been the backdrop of revolutions and evolutions. Yet cities remain humanity's greatest creation and the heart of our shared creativity, innovation, and advancement. Cities are found in every corner of the world and push the forefront of art, culture, technology, and commerce. Cities are not perfect. Their challenges are far-reaching, from sewage to traffic congestion to public safety. In recent years, smart cities have emerged as a remedy for many of these challenges. These smart solutions integrate a variety of emerging technology with traditional infrastructure, providing the city with technologically driven responses. But this technology often tries to solve a problem without truly understanding it. Cities must turn inwards to their own communities to better understand their challenges, and only then to technology if they could truly create meaningful change. It's time to open our eyes to what an ethical smart city can be. The Ethical Smart Cities project aims to provide leaders of small and medium-sized municipalities with a creatively engaging framework to help their communities solve city challenges so they are better served by technology and not controlled by it. Our future is in cities, but human values will always be at their heart.
Hello, my name is Adina Rufai, and I have a background in business and accounting. My main takeaway from working on ethical smart cities is that it's really about the people and the communities seeing themselves reflected in their cities. So cities should be designed and built to serve the human experience while maintaining the balance in the overall ecosystem.
Hi, my name is Amanda, and my background is in international development and social entrepreneurship. My major takeaway from working on the Ethical Smart Cities project is when cities understand and prioritize their community's values, resilient cities are built.
Hi, my name is Irene Kay, and I have a background in healthcare. My major takeaway from working on Ethical Smart Cities is that all cities are smart, and that an ethical smart city is one that listens to, empowers, and meets the needs and aspirations of its people.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and I have a background in kinesiology. My major insight from working on ethical smart cities is that the application of ethical solutions is possible for all cities, regardless of technological maturity, even in its absence.
Hi, my name is Roseanne Saus, and I have a background in IT. My major takeaway from working on ethical smart cities is that it's very, very complex. Cities, smart cities, and ethics, if put within the context of its different systems, can be mind-blowing. But cities are also willing to explore. Cities are willing to improve and experiment. They have so much potential to make positive impact if they are open to change and can adapt to change.
Hello, my name is Hardeep Kaur, and I have a background in content strategy, learning design, and communication-related rules. My major insight from working on ethical smart cities these last 9 months has been that cities do not always have the same starting point. So no one solution can fit all of them. Thus, cities need to begin by looking inward to find out what the needs of their communities are, and then look for cities they can learn from to create their unique blueprint for smart.
Hi, my name is Andrea Facenda. My background is in graphic design. And my biggest takeaway this year is that I believe that cities and technologies can only succeed if their users are prioritized and empowered to be the agents that transform their own evolution.
Hi there, my name is Maddie, and I have a background in psychology and social sciences of health. My main takeaway from working on Ethical Smart City is that in order to create truly resilient communities, a city must first understand what makes them unique, then provide a platform for them to tap into their strengths.
Hi, my name is Nitesh, and my background is in architecture. My key takeaway from working on ethical smart cities is that technologically advanced is not the only way to be smart. With a human-centered approach, even rudimentary can be smart too.
Hi, my name is Samira. I have a background in sociocultural anthropology and health sciences, and my biggest takeaway when working on ethical smart cities is that cities are here for the long haul. So how can we make them a little more human and a little less tech for tech's sake?
Hi, my name is Tanya, and my background is in Ethical Design. From my work on the ethical smart cities, I believe that the cities should be citizen-centric. It shouldn't be driven by the technocrats and have a bottoms-up approach while solving the problems for the city.
Hi, my name is Max, and I have a background in nonprofits and video production. My main takeaway from the project this year is that listening to all parts of the community about their challenges, successes, and failures provides better solutions to our cities than any technology could.
Hello, my name is Celine and my background is in interior design and user research. My major takeaway from working on the Ethical Smart City project is that the first step to become a resilient city is to learn from the community and others.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Lawrence.
And I'm Amanda Nobile. Thanks so much for joining us today.
We are 2 of the 13 students at the Institute Without Boundaries at George Brown College in Toronto. We'd like to welcome everyone to Transforming into Ethical Smart Cities. We're so glad you're spending your evening with us. Your support for this launch means the world. We'll be your MCs for this evening. You see us now, but for a few points tonight, we'll guide you with just our voices.
Today, we'll share what we've been working for the last 9 months. We'll be exploring the future of cities. It's been a huge topic to tackle. As the graduating class of 2020, it is paramount that we ask, what will we bring to the world? At the IWB, our goal is to design for a reason, with people and communities at the center of our solutions. Our cohort has spent this year examining cities, how they evolve and survive, and the quest to find out where we should go next. We may not have all the answers, but if there's one thing that we do know for sure, is that cities that do not listen to their communities are neither successful nor smart.
So we've come here today to explore with you ethical smart cities. These are the cities we believe can help solve global challenges. Conversations we have today will allow you to examine your own city and inspire innovation that will live beyond the 2 hours we have you for today. But before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that George Brown College is on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and other Indigenous peoples who have lived on this land.
This year, we, the students in the Interdisciplinary Design Strategy program, have focused on ethical smart cities. As the Institute Without Boundaries 5-year focus is on understanding and designing for the future ways of living. We've examined the trends and forces, social, technological, environmental, economic, and political, that impact the design and future of cities. We have someone very special from George Brown College who has prepared a message for us today. Isn't that right, Maddie?
You got it. Luigi Ferrara. He's not only our director at the Institute Without Boundaries, but he's also the dean at the Center for Arts, Design, and Information Technology here at George Brown College. He's an architect, designer, educator, and a storyteller. He served as president and senator of ICSID and lectures around the world on topics as diverse as design and sustainability, urban planning, information technology, and the network society. Now sit back and relax as Luigi gets everyone up to speed at what we do here at the IWB.
I want to welcome everyone as Dean for the Center for Arts, Design, and Information Technology at George Brown College and the Director of the Institute Without Boundaries, everyone to this graduation presentation of the class of 2020. It's with great pleasure that I introduce this presentation. The students this year have tackled a tremendously important project, that of creating ethical smart cities. That is really going to be important across the world as communities all over move towards smart cities and implementing them and making intelligent cities and intelligent communities a reality. I want to thank our partners, the Intelligent Community Forum and Evergreen Brickworks, who've partnered with our class this year. And I want to congratulate the students who worked in this collaborative program that we have in the Interdisciplinary Design Strategy at the Institute Without Boundaries at George Brown, because it's a program that really relies on people with different expertises coming together to solve global problems and work together in a collaborative way. And when the pandemic hit this year, it made that collaboration even more difficult and forced us to accelerate our use of digital and intelligent tools to do that collaboration. And this year's class has delivered in an incredible way on that and has done what we haven't done before, which is to really collaborate across distance and time to create a project that will help municipalities across the country and around the world come to terms with how to make ethical smart cities. So tonight you will see their efforts to create a playbook, to create a website with resources, and to expose some of the important projects that they worked on with communities who have been endeavoring to create smart cities. The work is exceptional, especially under the circumstances, and I think will be useful as cities move forward and they try to grapple with the accelerating condition of smart cities that the pandemic itself has enforced through social distancing. I want to congratulate all of the students. I want to thank their faculty who have worked so diligently with them all year. And I want to thank the many experts and the many other students that participated from across the college and across different colleges and universities around the world with them on the project this year. We can see from the collapse of the Sidewalk Lab project here in Toronto how difficult it is to get a smart city right and to get the engagement, the values that need to infuse it, and to just implement what are complex and challenging projects that involve technology, place, and community. And I think this evening you will get a chance to understand that better and to see how potentially you can use a set of tools to move the process of doing smart cities into a more community-oriented approach, where you can recognize and be inclusive of the values of different voices in the community, marginalized voices, voices that aren't always heard. So sit back and enjoy. I think this evening will be incredibly revelatory to many of us who are attending and watching. Thanks again, and congratulations to the students.
Well, wasn't that lovely? It's always great to hear from Luigi.
Yes, very well put. One of the reasons for the IWB's success is our mentors, like Luigi, who are so dedicated. Now for a bit of housekeeping before we kick it off. This event is being recorded and will be shared online. If you happen to have any technical difficulties, don't worry. The world has gone very much online over the past few months, and we're also trying to carry on using these new bits of technology. The recording will be available on our website for you to watch, rewatch, and share.
Yes, we are in this together. We hope that you've grabbed some refreshments and have gotten cozy. On the schedule tonight, we will guide you through how we got to the ESC concept and why it's so important. We will reveal the framework that will help those interested in starting their own ethical smart city journey.
We'll share a peek at one of our design proposals used to test the framework, reveal the ethical smart city playbook and website that will take your city building to a whole new level. After, we'll have a short fireside chat with John Young to explore the behind the scenes and pivotal moments of this year. After, we'll have a Q&A session to answer any of your questions. Then, have a few remarks from our chair at the School of Design, from Ana Rita Moraes. And last, there will be an opportunity to connect with others from across time zones.
And you know what? This event wouldn't be possible without you. To make the most of our time together, there will be endless opportunities for us to interact within the platform. We want you to go for it. So you can respond to questions, interact with us, presenters, and fellow audience members. If someone comments something interesting, you can send them a private chat. Some IWB students will even be manning the comments section to answer any questions you have at any time. We're super open to hearing everyone's opinions and feedback as long as we keep things respectful. Just because we're in the midst of a pandemic doesn't mean we can't make meaningful connections. So, if you've never used this platform before, here's how you'll be interacting with us. On the right-hand side, you have your interactions bar. There's a chat section, which defaults to the public chat. There's also a list of every audience member's name, and if you click on that, you can send them a private message. There's a tab for us to ask and answer any questions. This is called Q&A. And in the bottom right of your chat section, you can see a little hand
where you can raise your hand, or you can hit the emoticons if you're feeling really moved by what's happening on screen. So feel free to click around and get comfortable with the platform for a few minutes. We can even try it out together.
Before we begin, we'd really like to get you all and connect. Now's a great time to share in the chat. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're tuning in from. We're excited to see all the different cities in attendance tonight. You can even try out the emoticons or raise your hand. Looks like we have Samira tuning in from Toronto and Graham from Toronto. So great to see you guys. Jean-Marc, BC, wow. We have Oakville in attendance. Originally from Portugal, but now in Toronto. Dubai. Venezuela, wow. All of these places are pouring in. It's so, so cool to see where you guys are tuning in from. Tolu from Nigeria, hi. Vancouver, Philippines, wow, this is great. Whitby, that's close to Toronto. Parry Sound, hi Mackenzie. Aaron from Waterfront Toronto, hello, hello. It's so, so great to meet you all. How cool is this? It's really cool to be connecting with you all from the comfort of our own homes. But let's take it one step farther and have everyone find a buddy. Yep, you heard me right. We might be in different cities and across different time zones, but we're all here together right now because we care about our cities and our futures. So go to the chat section and look at the list of audience members. Pick anyone to be your buddy. Don't be shy. Introduce yourself. Tell them your name, where you're tuning in from, and share any contact info so you can network later. You can share your thoughts, comments, and musings during the event with them. And if you're lucky, you might even get more than one buddy. This is a great idea, Amanda. And to get the ball rolling, we have a question for you and your buddies to share some ideas. That question is, does your city prioritize the values that are important to you? We'll give you a minute to get the conversation started. We hope you've made some great connections. And now that we've painted a picture of what we do here at the IWB and we've met some of you, it's a greatest time as ever to jump into Ethical Smart City together. To give us a run through of the Ethical Smart City framework is Aduni Rafai and Hardeep Kaur. Aduni and Hardeep are two of the members of the Playbook team. They really know their way around our framework. But before getting going, it's important to recognize our scope for the framework. For this project, we focused on municipalities and their leaders to identify what would be useful for them in regards to helping them get started and continue with an ethical smart city project. After that, we'll talk about how we put the ethical smart city framework to the test with 3 Canadian projects based in Mississauga, Ontario, the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, also in Ontario, and Simcoe County.
The framework was used to generate as well as evaluate these projects and see if they pass the test as true ethical smart city solutions. These projects are prototypes, which are of course not complete without community involvement. We have Samira and Tanya here to walk you through the proposed project for Mississauga. They worked very hard on these projects, helping to focus our efforts, keep quality very high, and took these projects further than we could have ever imagined.
Raise your hand if you're excited for ESC. Remember, this feature is in the bottom right corner of the chat. Without further ado, here is Aduni and Hardeep.
Thanks, Amanda. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Aduni Rufai, and Hardeep and I will walk you through the ethical smart city concept and framework. As we go through this, I encourage you to type in the Q&A tab any questions you might have. This is a snapshot of what we'll be discussing this evening, so let's get into it. In smart cities, technologies such as connected devices, artificial intelligence, and big data are equipping cities with new solutions every day. But will technology alone be enough to solve some of the biggest global challenges? Can all cities, regardless of scale and budget, deploy technology in ethical, inclusive, and sustainable ways? According to a McKinsey report on the future of cities, 68% of the world will be living in cities by 2050. Think about it. It's more than half of the world's population crammed into cities. It is time that we question the current smart city approach for its ability to respond to systemic challenges faced by communities. This is how the Ethical Smart City project was born. The project views cities as more than just geographical locations, but as hotspots of innovation where we can apply insight and foresight to solve some of the world's pressing challenges. This project was born out of a concern for the future of cities and the heightened reliance on technology in smart city developments. And these concerns helped us shape our vision for the project, which is to transform cities into ethical, smart cities. We fulfill this vision by equipping municipalities with a values-driven framework to guide them on the transformation process to ethical smart cities, which really puts communities and their values at the heart of smart city developments. So over the past 9 months, we have been researching, analyzing, living, and breathing innovation in cities as we were tasked with how will we create ethical, smart cities. During the program, we went deep into our research on cities and even had the opportunity to interview municipal leaders in Hamilton, Mississauga, Kelowna, and Markham, among other cities across Canada, to really understand their motivations and goals for their cities. This led us to 4 key insights. The first of which is that municipalities are committed to addressing the challenges within their community. By virtue of their position, municipal leaders are committed to their communities and are constantly working to find ways to address their challenges. Today, cities face several challenges, such as the COVID-19 pandemic that is pervasive and affects all aspects of city functions. These challenges call for more efficient infrastructure and resources to address them, leading us to our next insight. Municipalities are aware of the role of technology in smart city projects, but they need more guidance and understanding to leverage it better. Now, cities have always used technology to address challenges. Even now, the Canadian government is using AI to predict when and how cities can reopen and return to some sort of, normal life. Smart cities, as we've established, are heavily infused with technology. All the use of technology has created solutions. It has also created new concerns, such as the ownership, control, and monetization of data. Which brings us to insight number 3. Municipalities believe ethics are critical to cities, but have not established how to champion them in their smart city projects. As the application of technological solutions in smart cities grows, boundaries need to be set to ensure that these solutions uphold community values. Therefore, municipalities must use ethical values as the lens with which they examine their challenges and the use of technology in the design and implementation of smart city projects. Finally, we made it to the last insight. Municipalities are problem solvers, but might not know where to start. Cities play many roles for their communities within them. However, the way cities are planned and how they are experienced are not always aligned. So cities need to start with their communities to identify and understand their needs and values in order to create smart city solutions that are ethical. With community at the center, values, technology, and challenges are the elements that act as the foundation for the ethical smart city. This is what we propose as the solution: ethical, smart cities, because they have at the center of their development engaged, thriving, and diverse communities. By engaging the community, their values become the driving force, as opposed to technology, which is usually the case in smart city developments. For this to happen, cities have to intentionally create open, transparent, and collaborative systems for their communities to thrive. As such, we have created the Ethical Smart City Framework to guide you and your communities to embark on the transformative journey to becoming an ethical, smart city. First, here's a video to introduce you to the framework, which will be followed by a detailed walkthrough presented by Hardeep.
How does a municipality transform into an ethical smart city? It starts by placing a value-based lens on its decision-making process, allowing a community's needs to be prioritized. It's then followed by thoughtful collaboration with all involved stakeholders.
It's not using technology for technology's sake. It's really much thinking about our users, thinking about our residents, and thinking about how technology can help them meet their outcomes. What is on the minds of our residents? How can we use technology to make a better experience for them?
Feedback is crucial for successful implementation of ethical smart city projects. Listening requires active investment as well as wisdom, discretion, funding, and time. This wisdom comes from an amalgamation of perspectives and is not the sole mandate of one individual.
That it's so important to go out and try and get access to the people whose voices aren't normally heard. And that has had to be a very intentional practice for us. And at some points, it's not happening through our big public events, but it's going out for smaller interviews and smaller consultations because people still aren't necessarily comfortable coming out and being part of those bigger events or can't be a part of those bigger events, but making sure that we're being able to hear those voices.
Supported by public engagement, the other cornerstone of an ethical smart city is the collaboration of stakeholders, individuals, corporations, nonprofits, public services, and community groups all become a necessary part of the co-design of a city with a resilient future.
As an example, we did a parking puck pilot project, if you will, where 11X put small little pucks underneath each of our parking spaces. They connect to a LoRaWAN network, and you can look on an app and see whether the parking spot is available or not. So that one required Public Works, it required the city's IT, it required the CAO's office, it required partners, public-private partnerships. And so my office sort of sat in the middle of that and made sure all of the parties were at the table.
Broken into 5 major steps and a set of tools, the ESC framework will equip you and your community to co-create ethical smart city solutions. Creating space for diverse communities to come together allows for an understanding of differing interests and builds a forum for developing common goals. Together, collaboration and public engagement are at the core of our ethical smart city framework. With our framework, cities will not only have tools to deal with current problems, but create a strong foundation going forward.
Thank you, Aduni. Your presentation and this video were great. They've set us up really well for our exploration of the Ethical Smart City framework. Hello, everyone. Let's begin this discussion by going over a few questions that drove the team's efforts this last year. Oh, and by the way, I'm Hardeep, one of IWB's 13. What is ethical? Does your city prioritize the community's safety or the individual's right to privacy? Is it all about the convenience, or would you go an extra mile for sustainability? What is smart? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Smart. How many solutions implemented around you are smart? Can smart mean something greater instead? What is ethical and smart? Well, when cities are driven by the values of their communities, they can create solutions that are ethical and smart. We know that to get a smart city right is no simple matter. Look at Barcelona in Spain, Songdo in South Korea, and Waterloo here in Canada. What these cities represent now wasn't built in a single day. These cities did not have the same starting point, nor the same growth trajectory. What is common to all of them is that they learned and improvised to become prominent examples of smart cities. To help transform your city into an ethical smart city, we have this framework, which recognizes that each city has its unique context and needs a customized transformation experience. Let us now explore this framework. The Ethical Smart City Framework, or the ESC framework, does not prescribe any values to uphold, challenges to solve, or technologies to use. Instead, it is founded on the ESC elements and a set of guiding principles. These elements may sound familiar to you, as Aduni introduced them in her presentation. They are values, challenges, and technology. When you start with the community, a great thing happens. You can understand the values they prioritize, which leads you to figure out which challenges to address and the appropriate technologies to address those challenges. The combination of these elements guides municipalities through the ethical smart city transformation. Which brings us to the guiding principles that underscore the framework. 1. Diverse and engaged communities are the focal point and the lens for us. When community becomes the focal point of the smart city conversation, their values can be prioritized and represented in those development plans. Public engagement activities are very critical for the ESC framework. 2. The efficiency of the solution is measured against the community goals. The ESC framework ensures that the smart city solutions are efficient at addressing the community's challenges and are not creating new ones in their wake. 3. The systemic impact of solutions should ensure economic, environmental, and social sustainability for all members of the community. Ethical smart city solutions transcend the niche boundaries of disciplines and are ones that create lasting positive impact. Finally, number 4, technology in the ethical smart city context is used as an enabler, and it's selected on the basis of the needs of the community and their values. For ESC projects, the implementation of technology has to be grounded in the problem it is meant to solve, as well as the values of the community it is solving them for. Technology for technology's sake means nothing to us. Now the foundation has been explored, so let's go and take a look at the actual framework itself. Broken into 5 major steps, the ESC framework is meant to equip you and your community to co-create ethical smart city solutions while championing their values. The 5-step process is accompanied by a custom toolkit to facilitate this co-creation. While the ESC framework ensures that the values of the community are at the forefront of the decision-making process, The ESC Toolkit facilitates transparency and optimizes public engagement. Driven by the insights gathered from our conversations with municipal leaders that Aduni mentioned, we realized that our proposed frame of reference needed the agility to be customized to different cities. So the ESC framework is strategically designed as an iterative process, which leverages the community's values to address their challenges. Through a strong feedback loop built into it, every step of the framework facilitates the relevant stakeholders to engage with each other. This engagement enables municipalities to implement ethical, sustainable, inclusive, and intelligent solutions with and for their communities. The 5 steps of the process are: know, personalize, strategize, design, and adapt. The ESC framework helps municipalities generate as well as evaluate ethical smart city solutions. With a unique goal, each step generates an output, which is also evaluated in the same step. These generative and evaluative outputs from each step feed into the next one. Let's now go through these. First, we explore the goal of each step, and then the generative and evaluative components for each of them. And as we go through these steps, questions might come to you. I encourage you to type those questions in the Q&A tab so our team can answer them. In the first step, know, you and your community define what it means to be an ethical smart city. And you use this definition to set benchmarks and to decide which cities you want to learn from. In this step, a shared understanding of what is valuable to the community is generated. With this understanding, the community has a starting point for defining what is ethical to them. Also in this step, smart city solutions and projects from other cities are evaluated against your city's benchmark criteria. By learning about the experiences of other communities, you will be equipped with standards to benchmark your intended projects. In the second step, personalize, you identify the needs of your communities on the basis of the values they prioritize, as well as the limitations they face in fulfilling those needs. Personalizing the understanding of these needs will build a repository of relevant information about the municipality, which will help make informed decisions such as identifying the appropriate technology and other enablers that may help solve these challenges. By identifying the barriers present in the community, smart city planning can accurately represent the stakeholders' needs and values. In the third step, strategize, goals for your smart city plans are set while considering their potential impact on the stakeholders. In this step, you create smart city project goals that reinforce the understanding of your community's needs and values. Here, you will also be able to assess the impact of your smart city strategy using foresight and forecasting activities. In the fourth step, design, ideas of smart city solutions for your current and future stakeholders are piloted and tested. The potential solutions must be aligned to the values of the community and be able to serve their current and future needs. In this step, you will test the proposed solution for its impact on different stakeholders in the community. Finally, in the fifth step, adapt, you create ethical smart city plans and match them against the community's values. Here, you will be able to adapt the project plans to consider lessons from the tested prototypes and begin the implementation of your ethical smart city plans. Finally, you will review these implementation plans to ensure that the project outcomes remain aligned with the community's goals and stakeholders' needs. Know, personalize, strategize, design, and adapt. These are the 5 steps of the ethical smart city framework that we bring into the world today. Embracing an iterative mindset is critical for your success on this transformative journey, that is the application of this framework. With a strong feedback loop, lessons learned with every implementation of the 5-step process can reinforce the understanding of what is ethical for your municipality. As more and more communities adopt the ethical smart city framework, We hope the framework, the underlying guiding principles, and our understanding of the elements would also evolve. I know this was a lot of new information to process, so please pop into the Q&A tab and ask us any questions you may have. Which brings us to the final part of our framework, the ESC Toolkit. Because a framework alone would have merely been conceptual, we created the ESC Toolkit to facilitate its implementation in our cities. These tools allow stakeholders to strategically collaborate and communicate with each other. These tools are accompanied by instructions and have been designed so that they are easy to follow and implement. We've designed these tools to facilitate the generative and evaluative outputs in each step. By collaborating on these tools, you and your community will be able to apply the framework and track the progress of your ethical smart city transformation. You can find these tools in our playbook and download them on our website, ethicalsmartcity.com. In the next segment, we will share how the framework and the toolkit can be used to solve real-time community challenges. We hope this will inspire you to bring the framework and the tools to your city. Thank you.
Thanks, Hardeep, and thank you all for being here, everyone. I've got the pleasure of walking you through our design proposals. Again, as we go through this section, I encourage you to ask any questions about what we are presenting in the Q&A box below. It all started in February 2020 with the International Charrette. The International Charrette was an event that brought together over 150 students, partners, faculty to design tangible, ethical, inclusive, and sustainable solutions for 15 communities across Canada. The outcome of the International Charrette allowed us to further develop the ethical smart city framework into a holistic process that can be applied to small, medium, and large-sized communities across Canada. From the International Charrette, we participated in another charrette, the Production Charrette. 3 design proposals were chosen from the International Charrette to further develop and test the process of the ethical smart city framework. These communities were the County of Simcoe in Ontario, the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne in Quebec, and the City of Mississauga in Ontario. For this presentation, we will focus on the City of Mississauga. We want to thank Anthea Foyer, Project Lead, Smart Cities at the City of Mississauga, for sharing her experiences and contributing to the Smart Cities dialogue. Her insights helped inform parts of the ethical smart city framework, and we've learned a lot from her as we've embarked on this journey. Now, Tanya will walk through how we were able to test the ethical smart city framework using our design proposals from the City of Mississauga.
Thank you, Samira. Hi, thank you all for joining us. There are 3 major things that I will be talking about as we move through the project. First, the design challenge that the City of Mississauga has been facing. Second, the ESC design solution. And lastly, the Ethical Smart City Toolkit that shows how it aligns with our framework. So the design challenge was, how might we use the Ethical Smart City framework to develop a design solution that assists newcomers to get long-term employment that will be relevant for the future of work? But before we get to the design solution, I would like to add a bit of context on our project. For Mississauga, which is home to a large number of newcomers, it is important that its services be inclusive and accessible to all. Thus, an ethical smart solution works as a comprehensive city service, bringing together the employers and job-ready newcomers to address their present needs while strengthening the city for the future. It includes processes to build awareness, provide access, and support for newcomers. While providing consultation skills, assessment, and training plans as necessary, it also facilitates newcomers to connect with industries to opportunities for long-term employment. Now introducing our design solution.
Our solution is Hire, an ethical smart city solution that is inclusive and accessible, which addresses the future of work for newcomers using person-to-person connection through soft skills training, guidance, and lifelong learning. This solution has two components, a mobile studio and a digital platform. Hire, it's a mobile studio which will go around neighborhoods in Mississauga offering newcomers employment services that facilitates opportunities for long-term employment. Considering mobility challenges newcomers experience in a new city, the studio meets them where they are, increasing the accessibility and approachability of the service. In the back end, the mobile studio is supported by a platform where newcomers can network with employers. Hire, which is the digital platform, is where industry, community, and government can connect and address employment challenges in the city. It is through this platform that caseworkers can facilitate the match between the employer needs and newcomer skills. It creates space for services like consultation on skills assessment and training plan development, as well as mentorship and industry-hosted workshops. The service aims to provide the resources necessary to upskill and gain relevant work experience. Hire comes equipped with welcome packages in different languages to warmly greet newcomers, acknowledging unique cultures and backgrounds. Connecting newcomers to industry is an opportunity for Hire to provide a holistic service. Through networking, mentorship, and industry-specific workshops, it encourages participation of local businesses in the process. Hire is not meant to create something new from scratch, but to leverage existing services within the city. It aims to inform and support newcomers on how to access and use available services. As a result, different sectors of the community are working together to address a specific challenge. Now, Samira will walk you through how the solution was ethical and aligns with our framework. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Hire sounds like a solid design solution, but what makes it ethical? To ensure it meets the needs of the community, I will walk us through 4 tools in the Ethical Smart City Toolkit to show how it was filled up using the design proposal of Mississauga. Using both generative and evaluative aspects of the framework, I will show you how an understanding of the needs of the community helped inform our design solution. To answer this question of what makes the design solution ethical, we will show the Ethical Smart City Definition tool and the Ethical Smart City Needs Analysis tool. First, the Ethical Smart City Definition tool, to be used in the Know step. This tool guides the community to discover and define what is ethical to them. The Ethical Smart City Definition tool helps in understanding the ethical baseline of the city of Mississauga. After completing this tool, we establish that for the city, an ethical smart city is one that strives for future engagement of everyone, that supports technology advancements and culture change, and ensures economic resilience through inclusive services and collaboration. From there, we can learn more about the newcomer community and the city of Mississauga. So we use the Ethical Smart City Needs Analysis tool. To be used in the personalized step, this tool helps identify the needs and limitations of the community using the 3 elements. For challenges, newcomers are not eligible to apply for jobs that match their skills because of lack of Canadian work experience. As a result, newcomers do not know how to build Canadian credentials. For values, the newcomer community would benefit from local economic opportunities embedded in digital inclusion that provides equal work opportunities for qualified newcomers. And lastly, for tech, Mississauga is already a smart city with existing technological infrastructure, but equal access to digital services that address newcomer needs on employment opportunities are important. So, the output of these Ethical Smart City Definition and Needs Analysis tools leaves us wanting to further address the needs of the community. I will show you the Ethical Smart Cities Mapping tool and Ethical Smart Cities Report Card and how they can be used to answer this question.
Used to evaluate the personalized step, the Ethical Smart Cities Systems Mapping tool helps to ensure that we understand the problem more holistically. Guided by prompt questions, we identified the systemic forces that positively and negatively impact a newcomer in Mississauga. Many things impact our challenge of assisting newcomers get long-term employment that will be relevant for the future of work. Technology impacts which skills are prioritized and relevant depending on the needs and goals of the workforce and economy. For instance, automation will likely impact certain industries in Mississauga, like the trucking industry. Infrastructure. Mississauga is already a smart city, so there is existing infrastructure that can enable digital services. Newcomer and employment services should be leveraged when addressing this challenge. The Ethical Smart City Systems Mapping tool helps us uncover the complexity of the challenge and the people impacted by it. The last Ethical Smart Cities tool I want to leave you with provides a high-level summary of how HIRE was designed intentionally with the Ethical Smart Cities framework through the Ethical Smart Cities report card tool. Going through each step of the Ethical Smart City framework, know current and future accessible and inclusive goals of the City of Mississauga. HIRE is designed with this definition in mind, particularly around economic resilience and inclusive services. Personalize. HIRE works to ensure that newcomers build up their skills and competencies to help with their employability while working to help them gain Canadian work experience. Strategize. Prepares potential employees for desired jobs through required skills training that will help them land a job, and our hope is to expand HIRE to reach as many newcomers as possible. Design. Inclusive and accessible, which addresses the future of work for newcomers while utilizing person-to-person connections through soft skills training, guidance, lifelong learning, and culture. Adapt. HIRE will be implemented in 3 stages: pilot, expansion, and final phase. Through HIRE, we are able to show an example of the Ethical Smart City in action. Our goal is that the work on design proposals doesn't end here. There were limitations to what we were able to do without public engagement with newcomers in the City of Mississauga. But our goal is to share this Ethical Smart City solution and framework with the City of Mississauga to learn how they would design a solution for their newcomer community. We covered a lot in the last 20 minutes. Thank you for bearing with us. So now we'll share a short video to recap the Ethical Smart City framework. Thank you.
The ESC framework is a strategic and iterative process that leverages the community's values to address its challenges while providing context to the challenges and the technology needed to address them. A strong community feedback loop built into every step of the framework allows relevant stakeholders to engage, allowing municipalities to implement ethical, sustainable, and inclusive solutions for their communities. The framework is broken down into 5 steps, and each step is accompanied with a selection of tools curated to facilitate the co-creation process. Starting at the know step, municipalities and their communities generate a shared understanding of ethics and identify and evaluate other municipalities they can learn from and use as benchmarks. Next, in the personalized step, municipalities create a shared understanding of prioritized values, relevant changes, and appropriate technologies for a community while also evaluating their limitations. In the strategize step, strategic goals for your ethical smart city plans are generated based on the values, challenges, and technology appropriate to the community. Municipalities then evaluate the potential impact by forecasting possible scenarios based around these goals. In the design step, municipalities shift from abstract ideas to tangible solutions, including ideation, testing, and iteration. Planning the implementation of potential solutions and project ideas requires that various prototypes be co-created and tested with the community to develop viable and desirable designs. Finally, in the adapt step, the lessons learned from prototyping and testing are adapted into implementation and project plans. The adapt step is the practical accumulation of everything that has been developed, from know to designed, and as such, it's the culmination of the knowledge gained through public engagement. Once the 5 steps are completed, the lessons learned from implementing the projects are fed back into the first step to establish the ethical baseline for future projects. With ethics at the forefront of development, the voices and essence of communities can be represented in their cities. To order or download our playbook and to find relevant tools for implementing our ethical smart city framework, go to ethicalsmartcity.com. By actively listening to a community's needs and collaboratively uncovering appropriate technologies, cities can help address their most difficult challenges.
Great stuff, everyone. I have to tell you, when we were running these designs through the framework, everything really started to click for me. It was like this puzzle that was our research and all of our hard work was really coming together.
And these design solutions have such great potential to benefit the communities that they've been designed for.
Oh, totally. And don't forget to visit ethicalsmartcity.com. This is where you'll see all 3 projects come to life. They're there for you to explore the potential of ESC.
Now, it's time to introduce where all things ESC will live and how you will be able to use it in your own community. We've developed 2 different mediums. The first is the Ethical Smart City Playbook, and the second is our website. You're going to want to check these out, as they can both be used with and for your communities.
The Ethical Smart City Playbook was a huge task for us, and we received a lot of help from faculty and individuals from municipalities who contributed to our research. To present the playbook, we have Irene Kay. She was heavily involved in the research and development of the framework for the playbook.
And the quickest way to access the playbook and more is on our website. We will have Jordan Yee to take you through the first ever look at ethicalsmartcity.com. Our website will house every resource you'll need when you're ready to transform your city into an ethical smart city. Jordan was an integral part of the website design team. His main focus was on user experience design.
Both the playbook and the website will help transform cities into ethical smart cities by equipping you when you're ready to make some big positive changes with the tools you need to succeed.
Before we give too much away, here's Irene with the playbook and then Jordan with ethicalsmartcity.com.
First, I'd like to introduce the team behind the playbook: Roseanne, Hardeep, Aduni, Samira, Andrea, and myself, Irene. Special thanks to faculty and advisors at the IWB who have spent countless hours alongside us, especially Naz, Monica, Lauren, and John, who worked as if they were part of the student team. Finally, I'd like to take this time to thank those in the Smart Cities community who have invested their time and attention to the Ethical Smart City project and helped us in our research. Mississauga, Caledon, Stratford, Hamilton, Kelowna, Smart Villages, Waterfront Toronto, and Markham. There have been over a dozen full edits on this publication, and much of the content has been restructured, reworked, and rewritten so many times over that what we have at this current iteration is no longer recognizable from the document we first presented to faculty back in March. When we first approached the task, we knew we needed a physical document that could be presented and placed on a desk. Understanding that our main target audience for the playbook, municipal leaders, have very little time and most of their reading material is filled with text-laden reports or memos. Those in the audience who agree, please raise your hand. We put this publication together using information design principles to present our bold ideas in a fresh, approachable, and engaging manner. The playbook includes insights from interviews with municipal leaders of smart communities and their points of view around the smart cities conversation. As well, we've included case studies that showcase smart solutions that we consider ethical. The book is divided into 3 sections. The first section introduces the concept of the ethical smart city. Like how Aduni introduced the ethical smart city, we present our major findings and explore the 3 elements of values, challenges, and technology which serve as the foundation of the framework. In the second section, we guide you through the framework that Hardeep introduced. In the playbook, we delve further into each step and output. We also provide a deeper explanation of when and why to use the tools provided in each step, accompanied by worksheets of curated tools from sources such as the IWB and Nesta's DIY Toolkit, as well as custom worksheets from the Ethical Smart City Toolkit created by us. Finally, the last section is much like what Samira walked you through, with parts of a proof of concept focusing on certain tools to tangibly explain how to move from one step of the framework to the next. In the playbook, instead of examining select tools, we explore all the custom worksheets in the ESC toolkit using Mississauga's challenge as a case study to test the framework and provide an example of how the framework can be used to arrive at ethical smart city solutions. It is our hope that this publication will be an easy-to-use playbook for helping to develop community-centered and value-driven ethical smart cities around the world. So, how can you get your hands on this? We will be having a limited production run of the hard copy. It is currently available for pre-order from the Institute Without Boundaries and the Ethical Smart City website. If interested, please follow the link from the pop-up, which will appear on your screen during the break. We will also be sharing the link in the chat for those of you watching this as a post-event recording. The link will be open for pre-orders until 11 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. For those that are more used to an electronic format and would like the convenience and instant gratification, the e-copy is freely available on the website, which leads us to Jordan, who will take us through it.
Thanks, Irene. EthicalSmartCity.com is the home for insights, framework, and tools, so communities can find inspiration and look forward toward their ethical smart city transformation. The website is where all components of the Ethical Smart City project are made widely available, such as our consolidated research and interviews. Over the next few minutes, we'll be giving you a preview of our newly launched site. But first, introducing the team behind the design are myself, Amanda, Nitesh, Hardeep, and Celine, and a special thanks goes out to our developer, Zach, at Digital Chaos, who's been working hard to bring our designs to life. Designed page by page, our custom-built website leverages the content from the Ethical Smart City Playbook. Our framework, tools, and insights are presented in an interactive manner for the global community to access. From the homepage, you can browse our prominently featured content. First, we'll take a look at the framework. On the website, the Ethical Smart City Framework is presented as a flexible, user-centric dashboard in order to accommodate the varying needs of users and their municipalities. Found within the framework are the accompanying precedents and tools. You can find them organized under the generative and evaluative outputs of each step. These global smart city solutions show how municipalities and countries have used the elements of the Ethical Smart City Framework, values, technology, and challenges to design and implement smart city projects. These precedents can be used to benchmark how others achieve specific steps as defined in the ESC framework and serve as inspiration for ethical smart city initiatives. From the framework, you can also browse the associated tools to follow along. Included with each tool are templates, samples, and instructions. You can download each template as you need, or you can get a copy of the entire toolkit from the downloads page. And while you're at it, you can also order a digital or print version of the playbook. Under Voices, you can learn more about what smart city champions and municipal leaders had to say about the ethical smart city in their communities. Check out the interview or listen to a clip. Let's hear what Andreas Boehm had to say about the city of Kelowna.
We really wanted to acknowledge that it's not using technology for technology's sake. It's really much thinking about our users, thinking about our residents, and thinking about how technology can help them meet their outcomes. What is on the minds of our residents? How can we use technology to make a better experience for them?
Be sure to come back to the site to hear the rest. Lastly, on the About page, you'll be able to learn more about the Institute Without Boundaries, Ethical Smart City team, faculty, partners, and more. We're grateful for our sponsor, Waterfront Toronto, who allowed us to implement our website. That's all we'll show you for now, but remember that the website is where the Ethical Smart City project will continue to grow and live on.
Thanks, Irene and Jordan, for getting us excited about the playbook and ethicalsmartcity.com. We hope everyone gets a chance to really get familiar with both. What's everyone excited about for the website or the book? Let us know in the comments.
I'm really excited for you all to check out the audio clips from our interviews with municipal leaders.
Nice. I think I'm most excited for everyone to explore the 3 design proposals because they're all so different. But honestly, it's all great.
We're at that time, folks, that we're going to go and take a tiny 5-minute break. You can get up, stretch your legs, maybe fill up your beverage, check in with your buddy, or you can go explore our website and pre-order the playbook. An offer is going to appear on the screen now if you're interested in doing the pre-order. You can also go onto the website and learn more about our ESC team, our little class of 13, which is more like a family at this point, by going to the About section on our website.
Yes, enjoy this little break and we'll catch you back here in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you're ready for some more Ethical Smart City. We'll give you a few moments to settle back in while we introduce our next group. Next up is our resident Smart Cities expert, John Young, who is the Executive Director of Intelligent Community Forum Canada. He's been with us since September to ground our work and really support us. He's here to connect with our friends Andrea, Samira, and Roseanne to talk about how we developed the Ethical Smart City framework over the year and through our new reality with COVID-19.
During this time, we want to encourage everyone to use the Q&A feature, which is one of the tabs on your right. Please ask us about anything you're interested in, want clarification on, or just excited about. Also, click to upvote the questions that you're curious about. Some of our classmates will be joining us later to answer some questions after the segment with John.
Yes, please don't be shy. Ask us anything you want to learn more about.
Take it away, John.
Hello, welcome. My name is John Young, and I'd like to introduce you to Samira, Andrea, and Roseanne. I'd like to have them introduce themselves and to tell you where they're from and why they got involved with this program. Samira?
Yeah, so my name is Samira. I'm from Toronto. I got involved with this program because I was really interested in learning more about how people and humans interact in cities and how they can be part of the future of cities.
Andrea?
Yeah, so my name is Andrea. I am from Venezuela. My background is in graphic design, and I got interested in this topic because I think design and technology can bring a lot of opportunities to solve city challenges if we focus on humans.
Roseanne?
Hi, so I'm Roseanne from Manila, and my background is in IT. I actually didn't know anything about smart cities, so I think it was more of interest in design and how it can be applied to things that can make a difference.
So, one of the things that I hear all the time is the question of what is a smart city? But more importantly, for the purposes of this particular topic, how did you go from smart cities on this journey to create the ethical smart city? Do you want to get started on that, Andrea?
Yeah, of course. So if we see it from the economical point of view, everybody wants to be involved in the technological race. And this is making a huge impact on cities. But cities are actually made for humans. They're actually made for people. So why wouldn't smart cities be made for people too?
Yeah, it really starts with people because it's through public engagement that you get to understand the community's needs and values. So an ethical smart city rebalances a city's focus from being technology-centric to community-centric.
And I think it's really important to remember that all communities start at different points because all communities are different. So some haven't followed the gradual journey from city to smart city to ethical smart city. Some have completely bypassed the smart city phase and opted out of using technology for technology's sake and have gone straight into the ethical smart city in order to use technology as an enabler when tackling their community challenges.
Right, and earlier you touched on this idea of a number of elements that are part of an ethical smart city. So how do you arrive at those elements, and really, how can they be applied to the municipal context? Do you want to tackle that, Andrea?
Yeah, well, actually it was a long journey, but all we knew is that we wanted to put the dweller at the center of the ethical smart cities research. So we started doing more of this investigation around the topic, and we discovered other elements like social, environment, economy, values, challenges, forces, disruptors. But we decided to make a systems map, and this systems map was made of arrows. And after doing it, we realized that all arrows were pointing at some way to values. So we decided that values will be the DNA and the core of our research.
Great, and values are very important, but you also need to move into the idea of who is it for, and you came up with this idea of a dweller. But then you changed your mind and you decided that what was more important was the concept of community. Can you explain the reason for this shift, Andrea?
Yes, so there are a lot of terms around that. We thought about residents, visitors, commuters, but we needed something more inclusive. So we thought about dwellers. But talking about dwellers, we realized that dwellers are just an individual cell in our cities. And it's very important, but most important is the union of them. And how can this transmit and encourage collaboration on cities? That's why we came with the term of communities.
We realize the difference between individual and community, and that cities need to think of their people more holistically. Because like, how do we relate to the things we impact and are impacted by us, like things like social, economic, and environmental systems? So really, the community is the smallest unit in an ethical smart city.
And to add, in terms of our process, it was really important to make the switch from dweller to community. The revelation was instrumental in helping us develop the framework and fill in the missing pieces needed to make this happen.
And you took all that information and you created a pop-up exhibit at George Brown. It was fantastic. You tested your framework, but what did you actually learn from that process? Tell me about it, Samira.
Yeah. So thank you. And we did win an award, which is very exciting. I think we learned a lot about throughout that whole process of putting on the exhibition, but also planning for it. So Design TO helped us learn that technology is an enabler and should be an enabler in the ethical smart city context, which is one of our guiding principles in the ethical smart city framework. We also learned that people in Toronto are interested in learning more about their city and community and are intrigued by the concept of an ethical smart city. So because our exhibition was really interactive, it really allowed people to learn about our elements. And one major milestone for our research was that we learned that people in Toronto value sustainability. And because of that, we were able to incorporate this value into our publication. So lastly, and to summarize, our Design TO exhibition really showed us that cities have the ability to determine how they tackle and prioritize challenges and how they include their community in the process. Over to you, John.
Okay, thank you. Well, you just touched on this idea of principles. You created 4 guiding principles. Can you talk a little bit more about them and sort of how'd you come up with them and why are they important?
Yeah, so I can actually answer this one. This is actually a long story, but the guiding principles, 4 of them are actually mentioned in the framework presentation earlier, and one of them was mentioned by Samira just now. But it started with us looking for gaps. So these are gaps on how people experience the exhibit, Design TO, as well as how we've defined and understood things. Like how we switched from dweller to community actually helped us expand the scope. Like the concept of being ethical isn't only knowing how solutions can be relevant to the community, but also how these solutions impact the systems around it. So by using the framework, how can we guide municipalities in this process so that no matter where they start or begin, they can always end up an ethical smart city? That's what we wanted to achieve with the ESC framework. And the need for the guiding principles is for whoever is going through this transformation to be in the same mindset as us. Like this is the first step, an understanding of ethics in smart cities so that municipalities themselves can define what is ethical to them.
But you also have a framework, and that framework has a 5-step process. It's evaluative and generative. Can you talk a little bit about what that inspiration was and a little bit more about the whole 5-step process?
Yes, sure. So how the framework evolved to how it is now is actually the result of the team having to show progress at our Tuesday and Friday pinups. That was basically it. But a lot of the inspiration came from a mix of primary research insights and the imagined experience of transformation for municipalities. Like, what do they need in order to be an ethical smart city? Like, the framework as a concept was founded on guiding principles and the elements, but how do we use these concepts to make something that municipalities can use and follow. So the 5-step process was the result of the team having to think of what is needed in order to get from one step to another, as well as what municipalities need in order to be guided through these steps. The generative and evaluative came out of more tangible things as we were testing the combination of elements to generate EST solutions during the design TO and the fall charrette. But with the importance of the public engagement being highlighted in the guiding principles, like how can we ensure that solutions fit the needs of the community? There has to be a feedback loop that allows community to evaluate if these solutions actually align to what is important to them.
Yeah, thank you, Roseanne. And Samira, we talk about community and public engagement. Right now, while we're in this COVID-19 era, how does that sense of community and public engagement work? Does it affect them as a result of COVID-19?
That's a great question. And to your point, I think COVID-19 has taken the world by storm and in a way is helping highlight gaps in our current system. So inequity is becoming more apparent as vulnerable populations are even more vulnerable. If we take something like broadband, for example, which is fundamental in smart city infrastructure, and we take away the structures that are in place to help support people who may not have access to free Wi-Fi, what does that show us? Well, it actually shows us that COVID-19 has led to the closure of libraries and other services that help people stay connected. And we know from our time at the Smart 21 in Rochester that libraries play a fundamental role in connecting communities. So when we think about the framework and the importance of public engagement, what does public engagement look like in the COVID-19 era? I think we have to ensure, like, how can we ensure that marginalized voices are not left out of the conversation, This means that municipalities might have to actually leverage traditional forms of public engagement, such as surveys, phone calls, and other forms of media. All this to say that while COVID-19 has shown gaps in our system, there's also a tremendous opportunity that have come from it as well. What are your thoughts, Andrea?
Yeah, so it's common knowledge that COVID-19 has been a disruptor. And it's changing our lives. But it's also important to say that COVID-19 has been a disruptor for technology. And that brings the idea of public engagement in a different way, because right now in our everyday life, we're trying to maintain that human contact with people that are on the other side of our screens. But how can we do that? So that's obligating technology to become more human and more sensitive.
Yeah, it's actually sort of building on, like, you're depending on technology so much for these solutions. And if we use the framework to evaluate how solutions were actually implemented, like how come some are more successful than others? Like, for example, what made South Korea's approach successful or effective at controlling the spread of the virus? Like, how much of their understanding of their community allowed for this? Being interviewed in the news, South Korea actually said, like, our people demand high standards of us, so we have to meet them. And this actually determined how things would be implemented and even improved.
Great. And I think it's been a very interesting topic. But before we leave, I'd like to ask this question. A lot of people know me, and I'm involved in intelligent communities. So what really is the difference between an ethical smart city and an intelligent community? Can someone take that on?
Yeah, I think the nomenclature is not as important as the idea of making cities more ethical. But if we take a closer look to those terms, we will realize that an ethical smart city is more like a bigger umbrella. Well, that has under communities that are intelligent, resilient, and prepared to tackle the issues of the city challenges, and why not create and design their own futures?
Yeah, I have to agree with Andrea because like many of the communities we researched and spoke to were in fact recognized and awarded as intelligent communities such as Markham, Hamilton, Stratford, and internationally like Barcelona, Eindhoven, Taipei, and Sunshine Coast in Australia. Yet they too use the term smart cities in their strategies for local consumption.
And I think there is really little difference between an ethical smart city and an intelligent community because both look at city and community development with a human-centric and holistic lens that covers all aspects of an ethical approach, which include being open, transparent, collaborative, sustainable, inclusive, and engaging. So what is more important is to get beyond the focus of technology and data for simple efficiencies, cost savings, and decision making in cities, and to focus first and foremost on the people and the needs of the people, and then use technology and data as enablers to help solve challenges. So essentially, an ethical smart city and an intelligent community are actually quite similar, John.
Well, thanks, everybody. It's been quite a lesson. I appreciate the time that I've spent with you. I've learned a great deal, and I've enjoyed working with you and all of the other students. So thank you very much for this fireside chat. Over to you, moderators.
It's always a pleasure chatting with John. He's been super supportive and has a wealth of smart city knowledge. If you'd like to learn more about what John and ICF Canada does, you can go to intelligentcommunity.org for more information.
Yes, thanks for joining us, John. Now, we'll be having the students answer those Q&A questions we mentioned earlier. Remember, the Q&A section is one of the tabs on your right. Be sure to upload any questions you like or ask some of your own. Our friends will be happy to answer. If questions have been answered by one of our classmates already, they will then appear in the Answer tab in the Q&A section.
Wonderful. It looks like our first question is coming from Adam. And that question is, with Sidewalk Labs gone, how would the community be able to apply your framework and tools for the next steps with Waterfront Toronto and the City of Toronto? This is a really good one. Andrea, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, I would love to. I think this is the perfect opportunity and moment to share our framework because a lot of people are agreeing and disagreeing with Sidewalk Labs, but the most important thing is that now people are aware of what smart city solutions can do to city challenges. And right now, our main goal is to reach out the private sector, the public sector, community organizations for them to reach out the entire communities. And I think that can only be achieved if we use collaboration. And we are very glad to announce that Waterfront Toronto is planning to use our framework for their smart solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Andrea. I definitely agree with you. We need collaboration in order to move forward. And it's very exciting that Waterfront Toronto is going to be using some of the stuff we've been working on. The next question is going to be answered by Nitesh. We need to provide equal and universal access to broadband first to everyone before we can even start to speak about ethical smart cities. Do you agree? Does this hold even more importance in developing countries?
Thank you so much, Amanda. I think that's a very fundamental question, and I would say it depends actually. It is a fact that broadband is the fourth utility, and an equitable and universal access to broadband definitely allows the communities to be a part of the smart city ecosystem and opens up opportunities for communities that lead them to be competitive in the digital age. But for some communities, especially in the developing countries, I think the priority would be something else. For example, digital literacy or access to devices itself. So the ethical smart cities support the implementation of technologies that address challenges and are aligned to the values of the community. As long as the implementation of broadband ensures the creation of products and services that align to these values, then it becomes the start of ethical smart city solutions. Yeah, back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff, Nitesh. I think definitely whatever smart city technologies or whatever solutions you want to apply and whatever resources you give to the community, it definitely needs to be given in an ethical and especially an equitable way. Our next question is from Parth, and it is there an example of a city or a community that is doing what ESC is preaching? Aduni, would you like to give this question a shot?
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. And thanks, Parth, for that question. So throughout the framework steps in our playbook and on our website, we really explore different examples of several cities that have incorporated some of the concepts of the ethical smart city. From cities like Mississauga and Hamilton here in Canada to rural communities like even Penela in Portugal. So we really see different cities taking in some of these concepts and, being ethical in the way they deploy smart city projects. But I would say from our research, one of the precedents that we really looked at was Tel Aviv in Israel. They have a really diverse community, and they, I think it was sometime in 2011, they established this city-making approach to their smart city projects. It was called Digital Residence Club, where they basically infused public engagement from the beginning of everything that they were doing. And with such a diverse community that they have, really listening to the people. And as we've been saying all day today, it's really about the community and the people that live in the city, seeing themselves reflected in their city. And the way that can be done is through public engagement, involving them from the start. So yeah, there are cities in the world that are impacting some of these concepts, and we're really glad to see that we were able to culminate everything into our framework and the playbook and website. Thank you.
Thanks, Aduni. Tel Aviv is a great example to look at when trying to see how public engagement can be used in a really powerful way. Our next question comes from Barb. She's asking, does the framework apply to all communities, or is it more for the Canadian context? How about Hardeep? Can you answer this question for us?
Absolutely. Hi. Thank you, Barb. That's a great question. The concepts behind the Ethical Smart City framework started from a case study research on smart cities all over the world. Our research insights validated that there is actually a great need to understand the communities and their context to be able to develop any organic or long-term sustainable solutions. And these insights were also validated by primary research, in fact, with Canadian municipalities. So that is why public engagement is essential to all of any of our frameworks application, and that can happen no matter where it is applied. And we also feel that once the framework begins to have some real-time application, a community of sorts will form, where cities can learn from other cities that have applied the framework, and that will help the framework also evolve in the long run. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Hardeep. That was really insightful. We do have so many questions, which is awesome, but I think that we have time for one more. Don't worry, everyone. We're going to be staying online for networking, and our students will be answering those questions via chat for you. So the last question comes from Monica, and it is, where is the role of corporations in the ESC guiding principles? Do partnerships with them provide cities with certain resources they need to meet their goals? I think, Samira, you would be a great person to answer this one.
Thank you so much for your question, Monica. This is a super great question. To start, there are different kinds of stakeholder groups in cities, and each group plays an important role, especially in the ethical smart city dialogue. So private corporations often have the resources and innovations that some government agencies lack. some resources that private corporations have and bring to the table include funding, so money, but they also bring expertise in a specific area, say autonomous vehicles, green tech, or certain policies. What municipalities provide is infrastructure, knowledge of and access to specific communities, and the vision of impact. So public-private partnerships can be common in some communities for mostly because for small problems, but also large problems that have this, that are, you're able to scale in terms of impact. So what we see is they can be really beneficial to both these stakeholder groups, both corporations and agencies. I think the benefit really is if private corporations and government agencies are able to work towards a common goal that addresses the need of a particular group of people that they are looking to design a solution for. Thank you for the question.
Great questions, everyone, but that's all the time we have for Q&A for now. Don't forget, you can always reach out to any of us after the event. All of our LinkedIn profiles are linked on the website in the About section if you have any more questions. It's great to connect with everyone. Yeah, we're nearing the end of our time here for transforming into ethical smart cities. But before we connect one last time, we'd like to welcome one more special guest. Ana Rita Moraes is one of the School of Design's finest. Ana Rita is the chair at the School of Design here at George Brown College. She's here with a special message for all of us.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ana Rita Moraes, and I'm the chair for the School of Design at George Brown College. Over the last 10 months, I've had the esteemed privilege of working closely with the 2019-2020 IDS cohort as they tackled the topic of the ethical smart cities. I wanted to thank you personally for joining this evening as the students presented their research insights and various projects on such a timely topic. As Luigi mentioned in his opening remarks, the IDS program is incredibly reliant on collaboration and teamwork, which can be hard under normal circumstances, let alone when the disruption we've encountered over the last 2 months takes hold. But as we moved the delivery of the program in the studio environment to alternative format, the students showed a tremendous amount of dedication in finalizing their projects and in getting to the finish line. I think we owe them all a tremendous round of applause and a special acknowledgement and congratulations. So here's to you, Celine, Irene, Max, Jordan, Amanda, Aduni, Maddie, Andrea, Roseanne, Hardeep, Samira, Nitesh, and Tanya, for all of your hard work this past year. Of course, no matter how resilient and dedicated these students have been, they couldn't have done this without the mentorship and support of their faculty and special project staff. So I wanted to take this time to acknowledge all of the faculty who have guided them in the first semester and in the second semester as well, alongside the advisors and guest lecturers who gave them the skills and the knowledge they needed to conduct this work. I can confidently say that these culminating projects truly demonstrate the importance of involving communities in smart city planning, and our hope is that you use the ESC framework to begin your transformation into an ethical smart city. Once again, thank you for joining us and have an excellent evening. Congratulations again.
Thanks, Ana Rita. Before we spend some time networking, some thank yous are definitely in order.
First, thank you to everyone for coming. We also want to send out a special thank you to everyone that has supported us through this journey. It's not an easy road, but the results have been amazing. Special thanks to Evergreen and Future Cities Canada, who acted as our partner throughout the year, for bringing in their knowledge, expertise, and for their contribution to our international charrette.
ICF Canada, who acted as our main client, specifically John Young and his network, who promoted our work, expertise, and guided us in our research and provided feedback to all of our deliverables.
Waterfront Toronto for sponsoring the ESC website.
Mississauga, the City of Kelowna, Town of Caledon, City of Hamilton, Stratford, Markham, and Smart Villages for their contribution to our primary research and project development.
And a big shout out to Lauren and Christina, The Moment, Huge, Frontier, and Lou Web Projects for their amazing guidance throughout the year and for opening up their studio doors and bringing in extra resources to help and guide us. A huge thanks and virtual hug goes out to our faculty, Patty, Naz, Graham, Apostolo, Monica, and Dev, to name a few, who went beyond their scope to help develop the Ethical Smart City project. We're truly grateful for all of your help and honored to have worked alongside you. And we hope to keep in touch with all of you.
Definitely. We hope you're leaving this event inspired. Please don't forget to check out ethicalsmartcity.com today, tomorrow, and anytime. Reach out to any of us here at the IWB if you ever need anything or have questions about ethical smart cities. All of our contact info is on the website. Now, we have some time for networking and answering more questions before we sign off.
If you look at your private messages tab on your right, you can see a list of participants, admin, and other attendees. If you'd like to reach out to anyone in the private chat tab for some specific questions, now is your time. In the public chat, you can also share your LinkedIn if you'd like and ask any questions. Our classmates will be happy to answer anything that's on your mind. Don't forget to connect with your buddy before heading out.
We'll also let you know when we have about 5 minutes left. Thanks for reconnecting with us one last time.
Hi, everyone. That's all the time we have left for networking. Our class will stay online for 5 minutes to say our goodbyes and tie up any loose ends. Again, don't forget to leave any contact information and let us know if you'd like to connect sometime in the future. Don't forget to check out ethicalsmartcity.com and pre-order the playbook. We can't wait to hear all about your ethical smart city journeys in the near future. From everyone here in Toronto, we hope you had a lovely time at home. Thanks for staying safe and enjoy your weekends.
Thank you.